So how did you get back on WWE's radar for the Dusty Rhodes
They
Tag
had
Team
a
Classic?
tryout. They at that time they were starting to look at indie guys because Kevin did so well and Rami or Sami Zayn. I call him generic. Terrible. But the indie guys were doing well. So they had like 3 indie tryouts lined up. I don't know if we were the second, the third, the first. But my wife is really good friends with ex-writer Rock's guy, Brian Gerwitz.
Yeah.
And like, she just kept going, you just got to ask him for the favor to get him. And I was like, I can't, like, I'm not a favor guy. We had got to know each other fairly well. And finally it was her that convinced it. She's like, just ask him. She's like, you know where you're at, like physically, because obviously I've had a lot of injuries. She's like, just try to get in before it's too late. So I just called him up. I was like, Brian, what do you think? Like, would you put your name on me to see if I can get in one of these indie tryouts? I mean, like seconds. And it was a few days later or something, I got called that, oh, you're going to be part of this crew. It was me, Biff Busick, or Oni Lorcan, Johnny, Drew Gulak. It was a crazy class. The TMDK, is that it? The Mighty Don't Fall? Yeah. Or Don't Nail? Yeah. Those guys. It was a good group. But we went, and Johnny and I were literally like Chuck Taylor was there. We were 1 and 2 in the line. And we got put together, like roomed together and got a car together. Not because of us. Like, we barely knew each other.
Yeah.
But that was just how they did it. They picked 2 guys and just, you're in the same room, you're in the same car. So we just like started immediately getting grouped. No idea why. And then we all got the no,
Yeah.
Like, I think one guy got signed and it was Biff or Oni Lorcan. We got the no, and Regal immediately pulled us to the side and was like, listen, I know there's something. We got to find an opportunity for you guys. Just please don't sign somewhere. Bear with me. And we just kind of waited it out. Not that we were in a rush to sign anywhere else. And 2 or 3 months later, we got called for the Dusty Classic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it you guys? Was it that you and Johnny wanted to be together, or did they see something in you guys?
No presentation from us at all. Like, when I tell you we randomly got put in the hotel and stuff together, and I think they started to just think, oh, they must be friends. I have no idea. Or it could have just been Regal. He liked both of us a lot. And that might have been what it was, where he was just like, oh, I got this tag team tournament and we need extras.
Man.
So that, whatever it was. But we ended up being like married, according to WB. Like, if you saw our developmental, it was nuts. Like, there was a point where, because we weren't signed, right? We were just 2 dudes doing NXT.
That's
doing
right.
The indies for months. It was awesome. It was like unbelievable, because you had that rub, and then it was just the best. And then even when it came time to get signed, like, I forget exactly. That's why I told you before, my memory is so bad. Like, Johnny could sit here and tell you like the dates, but something happened in our process where my shoulder was kind of a mess. And I want to say we went to do physicals for something. We were going to get signed to this contract that was never done before. It was like this new hybrid Samoa Joe deal where we would actually be signed to them, but we could still do indies. It was real bizarre. And we could stay home. That's exactly what it was. We got sent to Pittsburgh to do a physical. And I didn't know at the time my shoulder was like, I knew it was a little wonky, but I failed the physical miserably.
Wow.
And they sent me for an MRI, and they're like, oh, you need surgery. So because of that, we were like, well, I'm going to get surgery. He'll continue to do NXT. We go to the next taping, and Hunter pulls us aside and is like, listen, I don't know if you hurt yourself here or not. He's like, you've been here like for 6 months of the time. He's like, I feel like we should take care of it. That's the right thing to do. And he was like, but what do you think about signing a full-time deal? And we'll take care of it, and you can rehab it here when the time comes.
Wow.
But full-time deal. And I was like, I mean, that's a freaking no-brainer. I was like, of course I'll do that.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we're here.
Yeah.
And Johnny's like right over there. And then he's like, I mean, of course Johnny's going to sign too, right? And I was like, I'm assuming he will. It was so bizarre. Like, we were like a package in there.
Yeah.
I go over to him. I'm like, hey, so they want us to sign. He's like, we got to move. I'm like, yeah, we got to move. And he's like, I mean, whatever, I guess. So like, it was just weird. Like, we've always been that, like, just grouped.
Wow.
The whole process is nuts.
I've known Johnny for a long time. I met him when I was in Cleveland. I think it was 2010 or 2011. We were doing some stuff for PWO in Cleveland, Prime Wrestling, Ohio. And I remember him saying, like, it's WWE. WWE is the goal. Because at the time, Impact was doing the gut check. I'm like, what about the gut check? Like, it'd be a good way to get on TV. He's like, no, I want to go to WWE. Yeah. And WWE at that time really wasn't looking at a lot of indie guys. Yeah. And I was just basically like, cool, man. Like, good luck. But, like, there's not a path for that.
Right.
And then fast forward, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years later. And I'm like,
like the hottest thing.
Damn, dude. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to what you were saying. Like, it's right time, it's right place. It's like everything lines up to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we got lucky in so many ways once we got in the door. Regal helped a lot too, just keeping us in the game and because there were, like, if you see the beginning of DIY, like, we're tagging, we're not, we're not. Yeah. Then we finally have the shirt thing where we become DIY. But then that Brooklyn takeover match, that was the one with Revival that, like, really, even before that, actually, we had a match with Alpha, and I remember for the Alpha one. So what would happen with us is we would get a text from one of the writers of, like, you're needed for this taping, a couple days in Full Sail, but it'd be pretty last minute. And I had this UK tour I was doing. So I remember contacting Red and be like, hey, do you think I'm going to be needed for this coming taping? Because maybe they just left us off one or something. He was like, oh, man, I wish I would know. I'm not going to know. So I was like, okay. I told Johnny, I was like, listen, I'm just going to buy myself a flight back and hope I can refund it if they don't use us or whatever. Yeah. Figure it out. So I'm, like, doing all this stuff in Scotland and Progress and UK. I get the text the day before the taping of, like, well, yeah, we need you. And I'm like, all right, cool. I have a flight in 3 hours. So, like, it was that close of doing it. And I flew back for it, not knowing what we were going to do. And just thinking, like, I hope this is worth the investment right now. And we got put with Alpha and had a match that people, like, at that time loved. It was short. It was 10 minutes. People loved it. Yeah. And that was, like, what solidified them to go, like, hey, we have a thing with them. And thank God I did it. So I did that match. I flew right back, finished my UK tour. But that match catapulted us to get the Revival thing. And then we did Takeover Brooklyn. And all that happened before we were signed. Wow. Like, before I even went to Pittsburgh and they found out about the shoulder and stuff. So, like, I think that helped us so much because we were in such good grace with them of, like, they were like, we got plans for these kids. Yeah. Like, these kids are over, you know? So it was just like, if any of those things just doesn't happen at the right time, you know,
I feel like calling it DIY made fans really relate to you guys because everybody can relate to the idea of doing it yourself, you know, not being handed opportunities, like having to go out and find them. Was that your idea?
No, I wish I could say it was. We pitched being like, so we pitched some weird stuff. We were like the Panda Express or something. We wanted whatever we pitched. We kept going back to. We just want a panda to be our mascot. Like, we kept because I mean, if you think too, early DIY, we were just doing skits, glorious bombs. You know, like we were like, we're just gonna
the glorious bombs.
We're just gonna be a funny tag team. You know, and it was Joe Belcastro, as far as I know, who came up with DIY and the hashtag DIY thing. But yeah, I mean, so easy to chant, got over super well. We're talking currently about, like, because we don't know if it's going to become a thing on main roster or not. I know people are hoping for it. Yeah. We have, like, you know, you always have your fantasy booking and your own plans, but we're doing a lot right now with the whole concept of DIY of, like, how to, because with the main roster, you quickly realize there's this whole other world of, like, marketing and presentation and just a lot of stuff that for a guy like me specifically, who is the ring the bell wrestler, I'll do it in the ring, I'll do it on the promos. They want a whole different thing, you know, on main roster, which is, it's great. It's why the guys become global stars, but it's just not who I am naturally. So, like, both of us have been like, how do you make DIY like something that is globally attractive and, like, dream inspired, unify type of things? We're doing a lot right now on our end, hoping that if the time comes, like, we can present something to them that is like, okay, yeah, we can run with these guys. Yeah. But who knows?